Welcome moms and sirs to this channel webinar pages, your training and development channel where you can learn, lead, and make a difference. If this video has helped you, please click like, subscribe, and share in return. We will be very grateful. How to make a training design for NAIAP recognition Part 2. Because of the issuance of DPED Order No. 1, Series of 2020, our process in creating training designs for proposed projects, courses, and programs changes drastically. Part 1 of this video, we discuss the components of Form R.1 PD Course Recognition Application Form. In Part 2 of this video, we will continue the discussion on using the monitoring and evaluation tools, curriculum vitae, and more details on steps to make sure that your training designs will be recognized by NAIAP. We shall now resume our discussion on the NAIAP budget estimate template.
Okay, so ito na po yung NAIAP budget estimate template. So, mula sa knowledge na yun, i-apply mo lang dito, fill out the form or fill out the template that we have. So, ito po. Ang lead, no? So, it contains the title, learning service provider, that's you, delivery platform, diba, dinistas natin, online, face-to-face, blended. Then, source of funds, kung MOE yan. So, pa kaya, registration mo dyan lagay per participant mo meron. Pag wala, NA. Total targeted participants, number of batches. By the way, pwede yung training natin, your course, would be subdivided into different batches. One batch lang, isang implementation lang. So, ilalagay mo lang one. Target dates, so yung dates of implementation. Then, proposed venue or location. Next po, na part I, eto na yung budget breakdown per batch. Ilalagay mo lang dito, board and lodging. Sir, ba't walang food? Ba't walang food? Di ba part ng board and lodging yung food? Tama. Part na siya. So dito, ilalagay mo, ilang packs pa meron? 60. Number of days, 3 days. Unit cost. So doon napapasok yung budget kanina. Pag live-in, magkano? 2,000 max, diba? Not exceeding. So, ilalagay mo dyan, unit cost 2,000 times 3 days, so 6,000 na. Times 60 packs, 360,000. Yan yung magiging total estimated cost. Sir, may budget ka ba for transportation of the project management team? Supply sa materials, so pwede po. Training kit, sulat mo dyan kung magkano. Ilang packs, hindi naman ilalagay mo ilang days, hindi naman daily supply yun, di ba? So good for one po yan, then unit cost. Then, kung may speaker po kayo, ang nakakaganda lang sa DepEd, kasi pag DepEd employees, thank you po. Yan yung maganda sa DepEd. Pag tangkilikin mo sarili natin, thank you. Pero pag galing po sa ibang agency like mga SUCs, universities po natin, mayroon po tayong binabayarang honorarium. Then, yung honorarium is subject po kung magkano yung sweldo nila. The higher, the better po sa kanila. Kasi, mag-speaker sila for 4 hours. May iba nakaka-receive niyan. Depende sa sweldo. Rarely, mga 30,000. Depende sa sweldo. Pero pag instructor lang yung in-invite mong speaker, so lower din. Diba? Pero dito sa DepEd, maski nga token, hindi po pwede, baka nyo ilagay dito kung may speaker kayo, or yung lalagay mo dito token, bawal sa atin yung token o sa DepEd employee. Bawal token. Pero pwede ka magbigay ng token. Charge sa'yo. Pero hindi mo pwedeng ilagay sa budget. Di ba sa ating culture naman, a sign of gratitude, di ba nagbibigay tayo? So pwede tayo magbigay ng token pero hindi charge sa government fund. Okay, sir, how about yung contingency? May gamit po ba yung contingency? Ilang percent? Nag-research kayo? Okay, yung contingency fund po natin, for example, yung total na dito sa taas, 100,000. So yung contingency fund nyo po, contingency fund ay at least 5 to 10%. So kung 100,000, 10% noon ay 10,000. Saan ba gagamitin si contingency fund? Kung mayroon kayong nakalimutang mabudget doon, like supplies, materials, hindi included, pwede doon. Pero kailangan mo na resibo, official receipt. Ako. So, then, yung total, them all, so yan po yung magiging total estimated cost per batch. Ito po kung batch 1 lang. Kung maraming batches, so the totality of 1, kung times 3 and times 3, kung times 2, times 2. Then yung amount dito, ito po, lahat dito ay dapat isulat sa table ng budget requirements. Di ba sa yung kanina natin, ito kasi ay part ng budget estimate template. Pero sa ating R1, meron doon part ng budget requirements. Doon nyo po isusulat ito. Na board and lodging, ito yung amount. Total amount na lang po yung ilalagay. Then, transportation, ito yung amount. Supplies and materials, ito yung amount. Then, total cost niya ay ito po. So, yan po yung isusulat natin. Generic na siya. Pero sa ating estimate template, yung specifics. Okay. Then, ito po yung last part ng budget estimate template. Dito, di-declare mo na, I hereby declare you husband and wife. So, dito po, declaration of wala ka pong ginawang, wala kang ginawang kamalian. Wala ko lang ulit. So, I am agreeing to the NAIA privacy notice on giving my consent to the collection and processing this data in accordance thereto. Then, ito po ay hindi magiging valid kung walang printed date and signature by you. Then, pakilagay po yung date sa baba. Paano mo i-monitor, i-evaluate yung training program mo? Okay. Sige, ano po yung content monitoring and evaluation plan? Ito po yung table na binibigay sa template. Okay, first column, pag sinabi kong column, di ba vertical columns? Horizontal rows. Vertical column po from the left, level of M&E. By the way, yung ginagamit po nating monitoring and evaluation plan is according to the model of Donald Kirkpatrick, yung ginagamit po natin. Next column will be indicators. Ano yung isusulat mo sa indicators? What will be measured? Mula sa level na to, ano yung i-measure niya? Ano yung i-measure mo dito? Level of learning? Result po natin? Yung behavior, yung i-measure po natin. Next column ay, anong methods and tools yung ginamit natin? Mamaya po, ibibigay natin kung ano yung mga tools na pwede natin gamitin. Then, data sources. Saan nanggaling yung data? Sa ating participants ba? Diba po? Most likely, dito kasi if i-evaluate po natin, yung data ay galing sa ating mga participants. Schedule of M&E. Kailan natin i-administer si M&E? Sample na lang po. Pag si facilitator, yung yan na link, evaluation LFs, kailan dapat i-administer? Before, during, after ng session ng LFs. After na, no? Learning phase na evaluation, after na. Program, end of program evaluation, kailan dapat? End of the program, ano? Obvious naman. End of session evaluation, siyempre, end of session. Hindi pwede na mag-administer tayo before. Okay? Mga obvious answers. Persons responsible, sino dapat yung mag-administer? So, ilalagay mo dito, program management team, yung mga administer ng evaluation. Support needed. Kailangan ba ng support? Anong support na pwede natin? Pag gumamit ka ng link, kailangan mo may internet connectivity tayo. Then, user of M&E data. Yung dito ba nalalabas na data sa M&E, sino yung gagamit? Example, kung ikaw yung provider, sino yung gagamit ng data na nakuha mo sa monitoring evaluation? Sa paglagay mo, sino yung gagamit? Example, training ka about literacy numeracy sa school. Sino gagamit una ng data? Siyempre, ikaw as the provider. Second po ay gagamitin niya ng school. And third po ay pwedeng gamitin siya ng district data or kaya pwedeng sa SDO level po na data. So, dito po papasok yung idea about kung yung nangyayari ba sa school is the same as sa nangyayari sa school mo in terms of numeracy and literacy. So yan po yung isang example. Sige, papasok na tayo sa level of M&D. Based on the Kirkpatrick evaluation model, you have 25 to 28. Actually po yung sequence sa hindi decreasing but increasing but decreasing po siya na level. Kasi yung pinaka-lowest level natin ay reaction. Second level po ng M&E for Kirkpatrick evaluation model ay learning. Third level ay behavior. Last level ay results. So let's discuss this one. Pag sinabi po natin level 1 reaction, ano po ibig sabihin niya? Level 1 reaction. I guess you have experienced this one already. Naalala niyo? Program objectives, course materials, facilitator knowledge. Yan po ay sample ng level 1. Yung mga link na ibinigay. Di ba nagko-comment kayo na eto magandang venue, the food is delicious, ganun. Part siya ng level 1 natin na M&D. It refers to the participants' reaction to professional development programs or courses conducted. Pwede po reaction sa venue, sa facilitator. Yan po yung mga comments niyo. Part siya ng level 1. Kaya tinatawag siya reaction. Saan kayo mag-react? Pwede program objectives, course materials, content relevance. Pwede yung facilitator knowledge, style and delivery. Pwede din program management team, accommodation. Then, anong method yung ginagamit natin? Pwedeng survey, PD survey. Pwede yung ginagamit natin doon, diba? Nag-check lang kayo. Levels 1 to 5. 5 being highest, 1 is the lowest. So, nag-check kayo kung anong level. So, yan po yung level 1 reaction. Level 2 naman po ay ano kayo ba ni level 1 at saka ni level 2? So, mas mataas na siya na level of monitoring and evaluation. So, this pertains, so ang focus po niya dito ay measuring what your participants have and haven't learned. So, dito po pumapasok yung idea about self-reflection. Pwede po sa ating mga activities dito, self-reflection. Pag nagtatanong si speaker about your reactions about this one, to expound this thing, to synthesize, to analyze. So, part po yan ng level 2 learning. 3 naman po, siya po ang third, penultimate na level po natin. So, behavior measures the degree to which the professional development programs or courses influences the teachers and school leaders' behavior. So dito po, ina-highlight po natin dito, from what you have learned, ang mini-measure po na is paano nyo po in-apply. Hindi lang po up to learning. So dapat po natin i-apply. So saan po yan i-apply? Sa ating mga offices, sa ating classrooms, how we deal with our students, how we deliver our services to our clientele. So dito po, it includes yung ating direct observations. Pwede po. Kung sa teacher, COT, classroom observation. Mula sa learning nyo, sa training, paano in-apply. Pwede din job embedded. Observation pa rin yung gagamitin natin. You could also use FGDs, focus group discussions. Then you could also have structured interviews. Mag-interview kayo, then one-on-one. May target lang. Naka-structure siya, may target. Then, analytics. Ano po ibig sabihin ng analytics? Let's go back po sa school natin. Alam niyo po, ating school ay composed of different data sets that we have. Okay, given the data that we have in our own schools or offices, we have 2 types of data. It could be structured or unstructured. So dito papasok, pag sinabi mong structured, yung data na yan ay quantitative. Pag sinabi mong structured, it could be expressed in numbers, gano'n, quantitative siya. Pero, pag yung data sa school natin ay mga like video files, audio files, text files, siya po ay, ang tinatawag po natin doon ay mga unstructured data. Alin kaya yung mas madaling i-analyze na data? Structured or unstructured? So always structured, gaya ng NPS, crowd rate, net enrollment rate. Diba? So, dito po pasok yung mga numbers. Okay, bakit po natin di-discuss to? Kasi this is related to analytics. Okay, how many types of analytics meron tayo? How many? First, you have descriptive. Second, you have diagnostic. After diagnostic, you will have predictive analytics. Then, prescriptive. Then lastly will be cognitive. Kung napapansin nyo, it increases from descriptive yung level hanggang cognitive. Kung i-describe natin si descriptive, hindsight lang. Pag sinabi natin hindsight, hindi ka makaka-relate kung hindi mo siya na-experience. Diba? So dapat pag sabi hindsight, na-experience mo muna bago ka makakomment. Ganun, hindsight. Followed by, naging insight na siya. Meaning, experience na siya. Then, you provide insight. Followed by, foresight, context, and inference. So, discuss natin. Si descriptive analytics ba ay ano? Okay. Descriptive analytics. So, sabi ko nga kanina, simplest class of analytics that allows you. So, ang gagawin mo lang dito mula sa bigger data po na yan, sinang po natin, constrict big data into smaller units to drive more key insights. Anong sample sa school na big siya na data, then sinap-chop natin na para mas madaling maintindihan? Anong sample yan? Big siya na data. Anong data sa sample sa school na big siya? Sinap-chop mo. Sample, sabihin natin, growth enrollment rate ng school. Ibibigay dito yung sabi natin 90%. Ano ibig sabihin ng 90% na yan? Anong 90%? Paano mo siya maintindihan? I-check mo. Yung 90% i-classify mo muna. Ilan ba yung enrollment ng grade 7? Ilan yung enrollment ng grade 8, 9, 10? I-check natin. Kasi mahirap intindihin na gross enrollment rate natin ay 90%. 90% of what? Saan yung may increase sa grade 7? Sa grade 9, sa grade 10. So mula sa 90% yan na data, hindi mo siya maintindihan pag hindi mo siya i-chinap-chop. You go to the specifics. Then, we use descriptive analytics to leverage. Descriptive analytics allows organization to decode the inner context. And so, yung important dito is inner context and reasons behind the previous success or failure. Dito mo malalaman kung saan kayo part na nag-fail. Diba? We always do that one if we undergo the SIP process ng schools natin. Doon natin malalaman kung saan tayo nadapa at muling nadapa at hindi na nakabangon. Hindi naman. Saan tayo nadapa at bumangon tayo? What solutions have we made? So, when you describe those scenarios, yung ginagamit natin dito is the descriptive analytics. I-describe mo lang. Sasabihin mo na, may high percentage of dropout rate yung school namin. Pero, hindi ibig sabihin na lahat ng grade levels ay high dropout rate. So, i-identify natin saan banda yung weakest part natin. Bakit grade 7 lang yung may high dropout, yung iba wala? So, doon ka lang magpo-focus ng intervention. So, yan yung importance ng descriptive analytics. Second ay diagnostic. From the word diagnose, pag nagda-diagnose ka, you need to say, so, dito po, malalaman natin kung ano yung nangyari. If something is happening. Second, why is that something happening? Why is it happening? Bakit siya nangyayari? And lastly is, we identify the root cause ng problem na yun behind that one. So yan yung diagnostic. Saan natin ito ina-apply? Sa school. Yung mga school head, makaka-relate dito, we are na-involved sa SIP natin. We always do, to identify the root cause, we use Ishikawa diagram. Di ba? Pwede. YY diagram, Ishikawa. Fishbone technique. So that's the part ng root cause analysis. Given a certain problem, you identify the problem and identify the root cause. Kasi hindi masusolusyonan yung problem if you haven't identified yung root cause po natin. Okay? Sige. Next part ay predictive analysis from the word predictive. Yung main dito is when you analyze the data, we forecast. Sir, ano ba yung ginagamit sa forecasting? Simple Excel, pwede natin gamitin forecasting. Pero, dapat kumpleto po yung data natin. Yung pinaka-basic po natin is for the last 5 years meron kayo to predict or forecast what will happen on the next 3 years. Pwede po nun. Dapat may data kayo na basis. Hindi po pwede na 1 year lang, then you forecast what will happen for the next 3 years. Hindi po pwede. So dapat minimum 5 years. So for example po, sabihin natin enrollment rate ng school ay sa sinasabi mong increasing. Dapat it should be justified by the data that you have na increasing siya. Baka siya variable. Pag sabi natin variable yung enrollment, may pataas, bumababa naman, pataas, pababa. So makikita mo yan sa data that you have. Pwede kang gumamit ng Excel formula. Simple linear regression pwede. Kung straight line tayo, ha? Pag straight line, walang problema. Pero pag yung data mo complicated, hindi mo malaman kung ano yung direction na ito be increasing or decreasing, so mahirap po. So gagamit na kayo ng machine model to interpret that data. So yan po yung ginagamit on the next level. Dito po sa prescriptive at saka sa cognitive. Gumagamit na tayo ng machine. Sample po na gumagamit ng machine modeling of interpreting data ay sa labs po na ginagamit sa mga call centers. Hindi lang po sila nag-receive ng tawag, ganito, pero the data that they receive, may nagpukuha po yan ng study, call labs. Then, tinitingnan po nila kung like for example, at this time, at this very hour, ito ba yung pinakamaraming tao na may tumatawag? Anyway, based on study po, yung gumagamit ng descriptive analytics ay almost 90%. Pang-apat po na level natin ay results. Kung kanina po sa behavior, yan po yung resulta ng learning ng participant natin reflected on their practices. Pero dito po, pag sinabi natin result is what is the effect of that action in terms sa ating students, in terms of our deliverables po. So sa actions po natin, how does it reflect yung learning po natin, yung ginawa natin behavior to the KPIs po natin, Key Performance Indicators. Nag-increase po ba? Performance level natin? Ma-increase po ba? Or after this training, wala lang. Pagbalik po sa school, kung 9 times kang nalilate sa klase, 10 times ka na nalilate. At least may pagbabago daw from 9 to 10. So hindi naman po pwede. So dapat, it is reflected on the key performance indicators po natin. So paano po natin nakukuha yun? That is in terms of pwede natin gamitin si assessments. So anong type ng classroom assessments yung ginagamit natin? To measure the different key performance indicators. One example is classroom assessment natin, basic na basic, that is MPS, di ba? Bakit natin mini-measure yung MPS ng school? Kasi kailangan lang natin ng data on performance. Bakit? Ano bang yung nire-reflect ni performance? Bakit natin mini-measure some students? Because we directly relate performance of students to performance of our teachers, performance of our administrators. Diba? Eh kung hindi siya directly related to performance ng teachers at saka administrator, huwag lang natin isalit sila, diba? So always remember that one. The relationship, the direct relation between performance of students to performance of teachers. Okay, so yan po yung apat na level ng M&E po natin with the inclusion of the analytics that we have. So yung last part po ng R1 ay ito, declaration. Yung R1 po natin, pag hindi sa sign ng program manager, hindi po siya part. So hindi po siya i-evaluate. Dapat naka-sign po kayo, nakasulat yung pangalan, yung signature, then the date kung kailan kayo nagkaroon ng sign ng R1 po natin. Okay, as we continue, next po na kailangan na requirement ay CV. Yung CV po natin, hindi natin i-discuss yan part by part. So show ko lang kung ano yung content ng CV. Content ng curriculum vitae po ng resource person ay eto. Ito meron naman po kayo, course title, program title, sino yung provider. Then next question, ito po, ilalagay nila dito yung kanilang 2x2 picture. Colored photo with white background. Then, yung ating pong resource person, kung ikaw dito yung resource person, you will answer this one. Are you a NAIAP Certified Learning FASI? The next part ng CV ay ito. Okay. Kung resource person po kayo ay may tatlong qualification, may tatlong classification. You could be the principal, alternate, substitute. So kung ikaw po yung main talaga na speaker, FASI, dito kayo sa principal. Pero pag in-invite po kayo and sinabi na nag-invite na you're one of the alternate resource person, so alternate po tayo. O kaya, pag hindi kayo yung main speaker, ginawa kayong substitute, check kayo dito ng substitute. So yung content po dito, personal circumstances, personal information, name, residence, business address, nationality, then landline number, mobile number, and email address. So yan po yung nakasulat dito sa table na to. Okay, nakalagay din po dito, NAIAP shall be informed of any change or changes on resource persons. At least ilang days? You have 10 days before the PDP course or program offering. Substitute resource person may submit this duly accomplished form 3 days from the completion of the professional development course. So meaning to say, pag nag-substitute kayo, syempre di ba kulang yung time, so may allowable days kayo na mag-comply. Ilang days yan? 3 days from the conduct ng ating professional development course or program. The next part ay, eto po, track record. Ilalagay mo dito yung major competency areas, specialization, sub-specialization. Or yung iba dito, yung tawag minors. Then, next column dito is on relevant seminars, training programs conducted in the last 5 years. Last 5 years lang po, ha? Kasi baka anong 10 years ago na yan, hindi na susulat. At last 5 years lang. Dito din yung seminars or training attended in the last 5 years. Continuation lang. Dito, relevant seminars, programs conducted sa left side. Dito sa kabila, attended. Ikaw yun na resource person. Then, next ay yung major achievements, citations, recognition, and awards received. Lalagay mo dito, date, title, awarding body. Okay, after that one, ay eto na, education and employment na part. Undergraduate, postgraduate, then work experience po natin. So 5 most recent. So meaning dito, susulat mo yung recent mo na work experience. The next ay yung other relevant information. Dito nakasulat profession, teaching. Profession, teaching. License number, nakasulat dito. Valid until. Kung PRC yung gamitin natin hanggang kailan. Then other major affiliations, pwedeng professional, civic, national chapter, then position. Kung wala po kayong position, member is part. Member. Then next po ay ito. Important ito kasi you need to sign, then date. Hindi po print name ng signature dito, then date. Then electronically paste here your scanned ID. Di ba ang sabi po natin, submissions is in a form of PDF. PDF format po. So, dito, scan mo yung picture mo, pero preference po dito ng ID ay PRC ID. Pero, reminder, dapat si PRC ID hindi expired. Okay po? So, required, mas nakalagay dyan na any government issued ID, pero si NEA po, nag-emphasize na mas preferred nila pag PRC ID. Para walang problema kung diretso yung application mo sa PRC. Diba? Kasi pag nag-credit ni PRC, sigurado hahanap-hanapin nila yung PRC issued ID. Okay, so yan po yung content ng CV po natin. Okay. Tapos na po lahat. Am I right? Tapos na. Tapos na. So, ulitin natin yung application requirements. Form R.1. Sunod po, learning resources. Sino hihingan mo ng learning resources? By the way, kung ikaw si service provider, ikaw yung magbibigay. Pangatlo, sinong magbibigay dito? O, ikaw pa din. Level 1, evaluation. Level 2, ikaw pa din yan. Then, yung kukunin mo lang dito, yung CV, pag hindi ikaw yung speaker. Example, yung kanina natin, di ba, yung collaboration among speakers. Kung 4 kayo na magko-collaborate, so dapat 4 na CVs yung doon. Duly accomplished, NEA budget estimate po. Yan po yung lahat ng requirements po natin. Then, always remember po that in doing our work, we are always guided with the number of days in transacting that transaction. So, in ease of doing business, ito po yung ating pakakatandaan. RA number 11032, Ease of Doing Business and Efficient Government Service Delivery Act of 2018. So, ito po yung ating nasa DepEd Citizens Charter po. Pages 94 to 97. Pag simple transaction po, ilang days meron? Pag sa dapat at most 3 days. Pero pag 7 days, pag complex yung transaction, you have 1 week, 7 days siya. Working days tayo. So, pag highly technical yung transaction, maximum of 20 days. Ito po yung mabibilang po natin. Example, nag-submit po kayo, may problema, ibabalik sa inyo, hindi po yun mag-start yung counting. Magbibilang lang po tayo ng the number of days as soon as it will be received, kompleto po yung attached requirements. So, sir, asan yung ating link ng resources? Ito po. Tiny URL, /recognition-cpd-templates. So, yan po yung ating link.
Thank you for watching. If this video has helped you, please click like, subscribe, and share in return. Thank you and mabuhay.